Well, hello, and it's so lovely to be back on the screen again. We've had a little break from our Pure Talks, but now we're back autumn of 2021 with our first of our season 4 talks. And I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Michael Stausholm. Welcome to Pure Talks. It'd be really lovely if you could introduce yourself to the audience, please. That'd be great.
Yes, my name is Michael Stausholm. I'm the founder, CEO of Sprout, the company behind the patented, the only plantable pencil in the world. I'm born and raised in Denmark, but I spent about 15 years in Asia, working originally in the shipping business with Maersk Line, then transferring to the textile business, before I eventually came back to Denmark about 12 years ago.
So you were in the textile business. That's interesting. So you worked for, I think I read somewhere you worked with Nike.
Exactly. I worked with Nike, I worked with Walmart, I worked with Next in the UK, with a lot of big textile companies, Calvin Klein, Armani, and so on, doing production and product development in Asia.
So what was it? When did you first become completely interested in sustainability?
You know, that came in the late 90s in Asia, because I was visiting a lot of factories, a lot of sweatshops. The working conditions were horrible. And I thought, something is wrong here. It must be possible to pay workers a better salary. It must be possible to give them decent working conditions and still make profit on the garment clothing you're making. So I started looking into this, and slowly companies in the US, actually, the US were ahead of Europe on that. Walmart, Nike were starting to demand that the factories had decent working conditions. And that's when it all started for me.
And thinking about that, so it started with working conditions, but actually from a bigger picture and the perspective of the sustainability, the textile industry is very bad for creating greenhouse gases as well, isn't it? I understand, with the use of water and...
The textile garment business is one of the worst in terms of sustainability. And I'm sorry to say, but 20 years later, nothing much has changed. The garment textile industry, they want to be sustainable. They want to use less water, natural materials, and so on. But the very nature of the fashion industry, everything has to move fast. You need to have new pants, new blouses all the time. That just is not very sustainable. So by definition, the garment industry has a big problem with sustainability, and still has.
Yeah. And I know we're coming up to the climate change conference in Glasgow in a couple of weeks. Are you going to be attending that conference?
Unfortunately not. I haven't been traveling much for business since COVID, so I'm trying to limit my travel for that, but I'll definitely be following.
Yeah, there's a lot of it is going to be online, isn't it?
Yep.
So you're the founder of Sprout Pencils. How did you come across that product, and what was it that excited you so much about it?
When I came back from Asia, I was still working with textile companies. Especially, I was advising them how to do more responsible production in Asia and in Eastern Europe. And I was doing a lot of workshops and speakings to companies in general. And this was back in 2010, 2012, where companies were starting to talk about sustainability. They wanted to be sustainable, but they had no clue. Absolutely no clue. And sustainability was, and still is, a very fluffy expression. Because what is sustainability actually? Try to explain that to me in a few sentences. And that was my challenge also when talking to companies. So back in early 2013, on Kickstarter.com, which is a crowdfunding site where you can see a lot of artists putting up ideas, books, and projects to get funding. I saw a pencil that you could plant called Sprout, and I thought that was a really strange idea, because why plant a pencil? You could just take a pencil and some seeds, but I got curious, and it was an invention from 3 young students at MIT in Boston. So I approached them, and I looked more into this. And what happened was that it came to me that whoa, a pencil you can plant. The Sprout pencil is actually a normal pencil, and at the end is a capsule where the eraser normally is. And in that capsule, which is vegan, it's plant based, are seeds. So you write with your pencil like you normally do. When you have a stop left, instead of throwing it out, you plant the capsule with the seeds. First time you water it, the capsule dissolves, and you will have to take care of it like any other plant. And it struck me that this, to me, is what sustainability is all about. Because you take a product, use it for its original use, and instead of throwing it out, you use it for something entirely different. In the case of the Sprout pencil, you literally give it new life, a second life. And that's what sustainability should be about. Always thinking about how can you give products a new life, not just use and throw away, like was so popular many years ago, but how can we actually develop products that can be used again for something else?
Yeah.
And suddenly I had the product that I could use to show companies and to explain to them what sustainability was about.
So it wasn't so much about you thought, oh, this is a great business idea.
No.
You thought this is a great tool for me to explain this concept of sustainability.
Exactly. And if we for a second jump forward to today, I mean, this Sprout is not about the products. Sprout, whether it's the pencils, color pencils, our new makeup pencils, it's about a sustainable messenger. It's often being used by companies to have their own messages, engraved sustainable messages, because the biggest challenge still today is how to communicate what you're doing about sustainability. It's also a great tool for parents to teach their kids about sustainability. So it's much more a messenger than it's
Sorry about my dog. It's those tree men I mentioned to you. They're out there and they're making a noise now. That's really interesting because, as you say, I think the word sustainability has become a bit of a buzzword that everyone is a bit of a gravy train, isn't it? That everyone gets on. Oh, I'm going to make everything carbon neutral, and I'm going to, make sure that my carbon footprint is not being bad for the planet and everything. But actually, what does that mean? And as you know, we work with artists, and artists use pencils, and we use paint, and we use commodity. We use things. We're using things all the time. Canvas. Some artists use found materials in like sculpture and such like, and but they're using paper, which is obviously, often not recycled paper because that's not a good quality paper. No. So the concept of the pencil to send the message, to help your mindset be thinking all the time, how could I do this more sustainably? How could I approach this in a more sustainable way? It's a really interesting conversation around sustainability. Yeah, it's brilliant. I didn't even realize that was the case. I just thought, what a brilliant product. But actually, as a messenger, exactly, absolutely fantastic.
We also call it an icebreaker because very often people or companies are using plastic ball pens with a printed logo or something. They give it away for people to remember. We throw them out because we get so many and they're not very environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
The thing about the Sprout pencil is that when you give a Sprout pencil to a customer or to a collaboration partner or to your parents, kids, you have something to talk about. You suddenly have a subject. You can talk about sustainability. You can talk about what you are doing beside planting pencils and so on. So it's an icebreaker. It's a conversation starter.
Yeah, which is what we need, isn't it? Because we need to be constantly having this notion of sustainability at the forefront. But I think the most interesting thing, aside from the sustainability for me, is the fact that you have approached it in such an entrepreneurial manner. So you've thought, how can I get that message across to as many people, but also turn it into a business that is going to be commercially viable and is going to be as sustainable as a business? How did that mind leap come about?
It came early on. I mean, once I realized that this was actually a great idea. Plus, I like patents. I love things that are patented because you're operating in a blue ocean as opposed to a red ocean where there's a lot of competition. So I made a deal with the young students in Boston to sell and distribute in Europe. And what happened was that the product, back then it was still a product, it was a pencil you could plant. It got a lot of attention from the media all over Europe, a lot of attention. And suddenly I started to get a lot of inquiries from people, retailers, companies, consumers wanting to buy. And that's when I realized that this was more than just a funny idea and something I could use to explain sustainability. It was actually a commercial idea. So what happened was that over 2013, 2014, it grew very fast. I was selling a lot of pencils. I had to move from the backyard of my house where we were packing pencils into an actual office. My ex-wife threw me out, basically saying, "You can't pack pencils. You can't keep asking the kids to pack pencils in the backyard. You must use unionized or at least someone with a salary." So I had to move out from the back of the house into an office, and it just was selling like crazy all over Europe. And eventually I had to make a deal with the young students to purchase the rights, the patent and everything in 2014. And that's where I built the business from. And again, moving forward till today, we are about 35 people in the company. We've sold more than 40 million pieces of Sprout pencils. And we're selling them all over the world. USA, where we have an office also, UK, Germany, France, Japan, because sustainability is here to stay. It's a buzzword, yes, but it's something that's no longer nice to have. You must be thinking sustainably if you're a person or if you're a company, because if we don't, we are going to have a lot of trouble down the road with the climate and the planet. So it's grown from just being me to being very big in, well, less than 8 years, right?
And how did you first get the word? Because you were saying, you had the pencil and people kept asking you where they could buy it. How did you get the word out to begin with? How did you first amplify awareness of this pencil?
That was the media. I mean, we were getting mentioned on CNN. We were in major newspapers, magazines all over Europe and the USA, UK, and that just generated a lot of attention and exposure. And we were getting hundreds of inquiries every week from all over the world, and still are.
Yes, that's mainstream. That's mainstream media. Did you use social media at all?
I mean, back in 2012, 13, I mean, you had Facebook, but it was just friends talking to friends, right? So we didn't really have social media. That came later, actually. And it means Sprout is built on PR, on mainstream media, of course, online also today, but less on social media. It's grown through the mainstream media.
And I saw that you write for Huffington Post and you write for another place in Germany, Borsen.
In Denmark,
in Denmark.
The biggest financial paper, yes.
So you write for them regularly?
Blogging, yes. About sustainability and about entrepreneurship mainly.
So if advice to someone who wants to amplify awareness of something quite quickly, is that a good way to go about it, to blog and write on?
It is, because when you start a company, establish a company, and you are the founder, you are the one to get the product out there, because as the story develops, your story develops as well, and you become, at least for the first few years, you are the company. Today, I mean, we have a big marketing department, big sales, and so on and so on. So, but still, it's I've been there from the beginning as the only one. So I'm the only one who can tell the story from the beginning, and telling the story is just the way to get it out there, get people's attention, right? Because
Yeah,
otherwise
you're
there's
the
no
story.
product.
You're the storyteller. You know the story from the inside out, don't you? You know from the very beginning.
Exactly. I mean, for the Times in the UK, it's not, well. I should say that they just called our new makeup liner the best eyeliner, sustainable eyeliner. That was in the Times a few days ago. But normally a newspaper like that is not interested in talking about products. The mainstream media, they want to talk or write about the stories, who are the people behind the product, and no matter what you're doing, I bet you have a story, even though you are a local handyman, or you have a small shop or whatever. There's a story behind. You did something to get there where you are, and where you're doing. So you need to go out there and tell your story, and people are doing that today also on social media, right? I'm not personally very good with social media. I do big on LinkedIn, but Instagram, that's still a riddle to me. But a lot of people are very good at telling their stories through social media.
Yeah, artists are very good on Instagram, but I think the
Exactly.
thing is, it's about the storytelling. I think that's the thing that's coming through in your retelling of your journey, is that you had the story, and you've just told us the story of the fact that this is actually, it was like a messenger pencil. I've got visions in my head of like little pencils with wings on their feet now, and it's such an evocative story that it's never going to go out of people's minds. So if you can conjure a picture and a vision for people as you're telling your story, that story will help you travel, won't it? It'll help you travel to the destination that you desire.
Exactly. And the thing is that entrepreneurs, people who found companies, they're very good at telling their success stories. And people like to hear that, of course. And Sprout is a success. But there are a lot of failures on the road to getting there. And there are a lot of people that fail. And actually, the failures are often as inspiring as the successes. Because for me personally, I haven't learned from success. I've learned from all the times where I messed up, and where I failed with things. So I think it's important that if you want to get out there, you need to tell both sides of the story.
Yeah, you have to have integrity and be honest, don't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The big problem, at least for me, with Instagram, for instance, or social media in general, is that it's a picture perfect of what people think they're doing. But if you scratch the surface, I mean, that's not the life they have. So, what can I learn from that? I cannot learn anything from someone who is trying to be something they are not. Which, I'm not talking about artists here, because artists often share their work, which is inspiring to all of us. But these pictures from restaurants and from holidays, and it doesn't inspire me. It doesn't help me.
No, I think that's an interesting point there. I think the artists do often show just the finished work. And actually, part of the story is the concept, the idea, the inspiration. And it's a really good thing to show you working in your studio, the mistake when you lose it, because often in an artwork, there'll be a point where you lose it and then you refind it. And you have to be really brave to stick with it, to kind of go through that moment of like losing it and refinding it. And as you say, telling that story honestly with integrity helps everybody learn and grow. And that's what that's the biggest thing, the biggest gift you ever can give anyone, isn't it? Is to give them some opportunity to grow.
Exactly. And I mean, if you are an artist, like many other things, the finished product, of course, is fantastic. It's great to see, but it's a little bit like if I only showed pictures of my pencils, maybe some plants. That's not very interesting. But how it became a pencil, what's happening behind the scenes, how did we get to there? That's interesting. And a good example is that today I know we have some of our marketing people are out for photo shoot, shooting for new campaigns, and they are sharing, or they've been sharing all the day behind the scene pictures. And to me, that's a lot more fun. Of course, I love the finished pictures. That's going to do campaigns and video, but seeing how they mess up behind, how they have flowers everywhere, and how the model is maybe not in the right place at the right time, that it shows you that a process is not a straight line. Whatever you're doing, building business or creating something, it's ups and downs and sideways and going all directions.
Yeah, it is. I think that's the thing, is it's fun. You're seeing some fun. It actually gives it context. It gives the whole thing context so that you can feel like you're part of it. And then you feel like you're part of it, and it gives it all meaning. And then you want to see more and more. Like the part of the story where you were saying you're in the backyard with all the pencils and the kids packing the pencils, and you can't keep doing that forever.
No.
People forget about those bits. But actually, that's the context that everybody needs to know. We all, in our entrepreneurial journey, whether you're an artist, whether you're a business person, whatever you're doing, there's going to be a bit where you're packing the pencils in the backyard.
Oh,
for everyone.
And there are going to be sleepless nights. There are going to be times when people tell you, why don't you get a real job? And you have to decide what to do. So it's people very often hear about this company or that company being sold, the founders, the owners, they made so and so much money, for instance, whatever. But people seldom realize what has been part of the journey. All the sleepless nights, the stress, can I pay the bills tomorrow? And so, but that's an important part of the business, to put a human face to what's happening. And it's the same with I think with artists. I love to see, I love paintings, I love drawings, and so on. But I also want to know who's behind. Who is that artist? What is he or her passionate about? I mean, I have paintings at home on my walls, which I enjoy very much. And I know the names, of course, but I often wonder what was on that person's mind while painting that. How did that come to you? And that's what I like to hear about, the human side of products. I mean, a painting is also a product. Sorry, it's just a,
yeah, it is. It's commercial
process.
Yeah, it's a commercial product, and some artists, there's always different reasons why people make art, but actually, money and commerciality isn't dirty. They need to make a living, and the more we talk about money, the better. It needs to be an open dialogue. That it's a choice of a profession. But I think that it is really interesting to understand that journey, and to understand that it doesn't matter what profession you have decided to go through. There are these ups and downs. As you said, nothing is linear, because linear is dead, isn't it? So you're going to have to see that. And to get the highs, you have to be prepared for the lows, and you have to be brave and appreciate that everybody goes through it. And we all have those moments of despair where we think, is this ever going to happen? Do you have that? Did you have that moment where you thought, is this actually going to come together?
Yeah, very much. I mean, back in the first year of Sprout, the business, I mean, I was alone, and it was going very, very fast. I was working 20 hours a day, or it felt like, and I was not making much money. And especially not compared to what I was making before Sprout. So, I mean, I was sitting and I remember clearly, I was sitting one night thinking, okay, what should I continue doing this? And I sent an email to a very old friend of mine, an email because he was in the States traveling at that time. And I said to him, what do you think? I mean, you've been following this. What should I do? And the next morning, I got an answer back that he thought this idea about pencils you can plant was a horrible, horrible idea. And he thought that I should quit it and go back to making real money so I could actually provide for my family. So that was pretty harsh. And I had to think about that for a few days because what he said made sense. It was logic. But I decided that I thought the idea was so great and the potential so big that I wanted to do it. And I then made a decision. I went ahead, continued. And to make that story, the end of the story, 1 year later, he actually invested a very, very large amount of money into the company. And I've told him many times since, too bad you didn't do it a year before, because it would have been a lot cheaper for you, but then you can learn that. And the lesson from that is that it's very, very important that you listen to yourself. Because when you're building a business, a lot of people will give you advices and tell you what to do and what you should not do. But in the end, there's only one thing that works, and that's your gut feeling. What is that telling you? And mine was telling me that this was a great idea and to move ahead no matter what my best friend told me.
That's amazing, isn't it? So it is, there are always so many options. There are always so many roads that we could travel, aren't there? There's like the left turn and the right turn.
Yes.
We don't know whether one or other is wrong. All we can do is listen to ourselves, create some quiet, and then just really think, what am I meant to learn from this? And then commit, like you did. Then commit and go for it.
Exactly. And very importantly, if you listen to people who has tried what you're trying to do. Don't listen to your mom or your dad if you're a young aspiring artist and you really, really feel that's what you're going to do, because your mom or your dad, they were probably not an artist. And the same for building a business. Don't listen to people who hasn't tried to build a business, because they won't know. They won't know what and how to advise you.
And I think you're saying about listen to your gut. I mean, you have to know what it feels like, don't you? You have to know what those feelings inside you mean. So there's no point rushing at it. But then, as you say, ask for help, but ask for help and advice from people who might have the knowledge in the area that you are wanting help in. Because if you ask for so say you want to be an artist and you go and ask someone who's been a plumber,
exactly,
they're probably not going to give you the advice that has any foundation in reality or the skills that they need.
Exactly. That's important.
Yeah. So what last piece of advice would you give to people really setting out, because all artists are solo entrepreneurs and they have to dig deep and be brave? What's the one thing that you would say
as an advice for
starting out your entrepreneurial journey?
Sorry, that's I mean, the most important thing that I've learned along the way is a little bit what we talked about already, is to believe in yourself. First of all, believe in yourself and what you're doing, because if you don't do that, if you don't believe in yourself, why should anybody else do that? And that to me has always been the most important.
I think that's a really, really powerful message. Believe in yourself. It is the mindset, isn't it? You have to have the mindset to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, how can anyone else believe in you? So you've got to really, really focus your mindset on believing in yourself. Thank you so much. Couple of questions. Yes. One is, where can they buy the pencils in the UK?
Actually, normally it's our we have some retailers in the UK. I can't remember, sorry. But normally the best way is our own website. It's called sproutworld.com. where there's web shop also. We're having some trouble because of Brexit, unfortunately, but all our Sprout pencils and also now our eyeliners are available on amazon.co.uk under Sprout World. So you can buy them there and have them delivered in a few days.
Yeah, I bought some off of Amazon. It'd be nice not to have to buy them off Amazon, so they can go direct to you. But I know that there is a few issues with delivery because of, as you say, the dreaded word I know what's going to speak about. And Edith in the sidebar is saying that you were in the Times saying that it was the best planet-friendly eyeliner was by Sprout. So I didn't even know that you'd gone into eyeliners and beauty products. Beauty products was the word I was trying to come up with. Yeah, but that's great. Fantastic advice. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think we might have one other question in here. Where are they made, Carol asks? Where are your pencils made?
Everything is made where it's sold, meaning in Europe, including the UK. Our production is in Poland. And everything is coming from Europe. Seeds are from Germany, from Holland. The wood is from Poland, and so on. Similarly, for our US and Canada production, we have a local production in the US, and everything is sourced from there. It's very important to me, to us, that we don't source materials from, let's say, Asia, or have production in Asia and ship to Europe. That's not very CO2 friendly, and it's not very sustainable. I want to make sure that we control every single raw material that we use, and it's all natural and it's all certified as it should be. So only in Europe and in USA.
That's brilliant. Thank you. As you say, it'd be very unsustainable, wouldn't it, if you were having things shipped across the world? So thank you so much, Michael. It's been absolutely fascinating to talk to you. And thank you for sharing all your great advice about how to amplify awareness of a product in its early days, and how to become a successful entrepreneur. That's been invaluable advice. And it's just reassuring. It's just really reassuring that, you know, you had to pack pencils in your backyard and your wife told you to go and get some staff.
Exactly.
Even, you know, really big companies go through that. And I know I've chatted to Maxine Lesby of Absolute Collagen, and she packed them in her dining room, packed all her collagen in the dining room. So everyone does it. So, you know, we can all be as successful as we want to be if we set our minds to it, we focus, but also with our eye on being sustainable.
Exactly. That's very, very important.
Yeah, and not doing things that are unsustainable. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight to chat to you.
It was my pleasure. Have a great day, and thanks a lot.
And you. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day. Bye for now.
Bye.